Hey, I remember you. You're way too smart to have ever been led to believe something that isn't true, right? You would never let something seep so deep into your subconscious that it became your only reality, or learn about something at such a young age that you didn't know to question it. And you never would have spent 20 years of your life letting your system mold you into a very obedient worker. A system that molds you into doing what everybody else is doing. A system that teaches you everything about nothing. A system that rewards you for thinking like they do and not outside the box. A system that makes you feel alone even though you're surrounded by people. A system that keeps you busy and distracted from discovering the real important things like God and truth. A system that gives you a false sense of freedom. A system that was literally designed by a guy that said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. And you're definitely way too smart to have spent your whole life in a prison.
Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
You may not realize the prison you're in, and I didn't either, but then I figured it out, and I broke free. Free from the rules and judgment and bells and whistles. Free from thinking there was only one way to be successful in life. Free from the fact that we don't live on this stupid spinning water ball. And free from the fact that the only rules we need to follow in life are the rules of God. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to help you break free of all the rules and all the borders and all the walls. The walls that prevent you from not only knowing who you are or where you are, but what your true potential really is. I'm here to help. All you gotta do is reach out. But you guys know I'm just kidding. I don't really think school is a prison designed to break our spirits and mold us into good little worker bees. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's all for entertainment purposes. I want to ask you guys a question. What makes you think you live on this? Think about it. I want you to think about it. What makes you think that? Is it the pictures that you've seen of Earth from space? All these? Are these why? All these that all look different all the time, have different shaped continents, have different size continents, have different colors, that look completely like drawings? Is this why? Or is it because you see the sun half covered and you know that the earth is revolving, so that's why you see the sun half covered? But then you can zoom in and see that it's not actually half covered, it's pretty high in the air. And you realize that it only looks half covered because of the atmospheric lensing and perspective. So if it's not those two, maybe it's this. Maybe it's that all the planets are round, right? I mean, NASA says this is what Mars looks like. So, Earth has to look similar. But does Mars really look like this? Amateurs catch Mars looking like this. It's a little different. Looks like it's light shimmering in water. Interesting. Same planet, different telescope, different person, capturing somewhat of the similar thing we're seeing. Maybe it's because you look up and see the sun and see that it's 93 million miles away, so everything they tell us about the solar system has to be accurate, right? How's it 93 million miles away if it's in the clouds? Maybe you think you live on a globe because the flight paths prove it, right? Don't all flight paths prove it? I mean, this seems normal, right? You would never just go in a straight line. Let's see what New York to Moscow looks like on a flat Earth map.
Line, check this out. The edge of Canada, the edge of Greenland, straight over Iceland, straight over Sweden, and into Moscow.
Interesting.
Imagine that.
Maybe you think you live on a globe because NASA's gone way up in space and sent pictures back. But this is what their flight path looks like all the time. Does that look like it's going up to space to you? Boats go over the horizon, right? So that's why we live on a globe, because a boat goes over and then you can't see it, right? So that's what they teach us from a young age, right? That this happens, the boat's going to go over the horizon. If it's going over a curve, you can never zoom back in on it, right? Just like this boat that went out of sight and over the horizon. But then you zoom in, kind of like you do on the sun, and you see it's still there. It's not over any horizon. See, people think that's what's happening, but it's just like the sun, like I said. When something goes away and there's lensing because of the heat from the water or any type of atmosphere, you can't see it anymore. This is how the sun actually goes down. It just goes further away to the point you can't see the light that the sun is giving anymore. And look, we can't see that boat, and then you remove the atmosphere or the lens and it's still right there. Boats aren't going over the horizon, they're just going out of your sight, just like the sun. Star trails though, right? These prove that the Earth is definitely spinning. As this time lapse plays, I want to just tell you what the Earth is supposedly doing. We are rotating 1,000 miles per hour this way. We're traveling 67,000 miles per hour around the sun. We are hurling through the solar system at 400,000 miles per hour and hurling through the universe at 2 million miles per hour. Yet these stars look like they're rotating around us to me, and Polaris never moves. How is that possible? Speaking of not being able to see things, we know we live on a globe because you can't see things because they're too far away and they're over the curve, right? Well, the globe model tells us that from 60 miles away, you shouldn't be able to see 2,400 feet because of the curve. Well, the Willis Tower is only 1,400 feet, and this picture was taken from 60 miles away. So I want to ask you again, why do you think you live on a globe? Because when you look into it, you realize all the reasons you think you do, they're explainable in different reasons that actually make more sense when you measure, repeat, and observe it over and over again. So I ask you, do you live here? And you know what? You still think that's happening because the Earth is spinning? Aw, that's cute. Well, why don't we see if we can change that cuteness into acuteness? Acute intelligence, that is. Let's first start that task by realizing that the Earth's atmosphere can act as a lens. Alexa, can the Earth's atmosphere cause a lensing effect?
Yes, the Earth's atmosphere can cause a lensing effect.
Now with that information, let's see if we can reproduce the sun setting on a smaller scale with a magnifying glass and me backing straight up in a pool. I'm not going down, I'm just going back. And I'm going to show you in a second when we remove the lens, we'll see the exact thing I'm talking about. Looks an awful lot like what the sun looks like as it moves further and further and further away. Now remove the lens, and you see the light, or aka the sun, for a lot longer period, getting lower and lower and lower because I'm getting further and further away. And when you look at it alone, it looks an awful lot like the sun setting. And when you actually just compare it to the sun setting, it looks identical. Remember, I'm not getting lower, I'm just moving further and further away. Now keep in mind, the further something gets away from you, the lower it will get in your field of vision, aka you know this light above you is the same height as that light further away. But it just gets lower and lower and lower and smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually it's going to disappear because unlike they tell us, light doesn't travel trillions of miles endlessly to your line of sight. And if you ever find yourself under the right conditions, aka no lens or high humidity, you will see that the sun just goes and goes and goes and shrinks and shrinks. So next time you're lucky enough to see the sun setting over a beautiful body of water, ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is there a lot of atmosphere? Is the sun just getting further away? Or am I really spinning 1,000 miles per hour backwards, faster than the speed of sound? This is all for entertainment purposes, though. Of course, we're on a ball spinning endlessly, and I'm a descendant of a monkey that was a descendant of a tadpole. Entertainment only. Have you ever seen this map called the CBS American School of the Air map? What they actually used to use in flight school in 1944, which would have been before NASA came along. Well, what's this funny little circular white thing? They label it as Antarctica, but we know Antarctica is a continent at the bottom of the globe. Why would they put it circling all the other continents? Seems strange. And then it's funny, when you look up the average elevation of all the continents, you see that Antarctica is the tallest, average by far, more than double. So that means of all the land masses, Antarctica's the average highest. Let's go back to that map. So if this white terrain circling all the known continents was taller, it's almost like it would be acting as a cup to hold in all the water. Well, that's strange. Something to think about for you. Entertainment only, though, of course, I'm sure they just depicted it as a circle surrounding all the continents for funsies. Do you want to know why when you flip a globe over, it says not for educational use, but decorative purposes only? It's because not only would you never get to where you're going, but if you did, you would add miles upon miles upon miles on your trip. I want you to look at the CBS American School of Air map used in 1943 for flight school. And I want you to look at this. Here is a scale. People always say, where's your flat earth map with a scale? Well, here it is. Not only does it have a scale, but it has this funny looking white border with all this outlined mapped terrain. What could that be? What could that be, I wonder? Not that continent at the bottom of the globe, something else that surrounds it. Now I want you to look at this map, and I want you to look at New York, and I want you to look at the path you would take from New York to Moscow. Okay, let's take a closer look. New York to Moscow, how's that gonna look on this map? Let's draw a line right straight across, and notice how it's going to cut through Greenland. Now let's look at what the flight path they show us actually looks like. So when you pull up the actual flight path, this is what it looks like. They make it so it arcs up to Greenland and then down to Moscow. And notice the distance is actually shorter on their curved line compared to this one. If you were to just go straight from New York to Moscow, why would that be longer? Think about that. Again, on the flat earth map, that's an actual map that flight schools used to use. Right through Greenland, and I want to show you why their straight line is actually a longer distance. Because this is what their straight line actually is on a real map. The map pilots use, the flat earth map. It adds distance because you go curve away from it to come back versus going straight across. Now I just want to give you another example of how their curved flight paths from LA to Japan, why would we do that? I'll show you. Because on the flat earth map, LA to Japan is actually an exactly straight line. You just fly across, and I want you to notice, where do they cut through? Alaska, and just on the edge of Russia here. Let's go back and look. Look again. LA, through Alaska, just to the tip across Russia, and down to Japan. Now is it making sense? Oh, and if you don't believe me, maybe you'll take these guys' word for it.
How long have you been a pilot for?
43 years.
Wow. What shape is the planet?
Flat.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No, there's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've been flying,
Yeah.
and I've come to the conclusion
Yeah.
there is no curvature. I never allow for curvature. There's no way there's curvature. We're round and flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we?
Flat as a
Thank
pancake,
you,
mate.
sir.
Flat as a pancake.
We're so, and the outer ring is south,
Yeah.
and so north must be in the middle, correct?
Possibly.
That
Yeah.
would be the only way that a
Yeah.
magnetic compass works on a flat plane.
Might be onto something there.
Yeah,
Might be
but
something.
you're not having me on. We
No,
are.
no,
We're round and flat,
Flat
aren't
as a
we?
pancake, mate. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you, man.
No worries.
You made my day.
Don't need to keep
So again, this is on there because it has to be. Otherwise, everyone would be getting lost. Everyone. And the next time someone says, show me a flat earth map with scale and a key, take them to the CBS American School of Air Map and show them this. And say, here you go. But as always, I know this is just a fake map from 1940s. They scripted these things to be funny. There was no point of this, and all this terrain out here, that's really just Antarctica at the bottom that they just stretched out in a circle for funsies. All for entertainment purposes, of course. Have a good day. Are you curious how the seasons work on a flat Earth? Well, if you stick around, I think I can help. The first thing you need to understand is that the sun and the moon are close. They're within the Earth system, and they circle around us. And I am going to show you with actual scientific evidence that not only do they circle us, but the sun changes its speed and its location where it rises throughout the year. Now, if you look at this beautiful sky clock overlaid with the flat Earth map, you can see that every 24 hours, the sun is doing a loop, which creates night and day, and the moon is doing the same thing, but about every 25 hours. Now, what the sun also does is it makes smaller circles in the northern hemisphere during our summer months, so June, July, August, September, and it starts to make larger circles and increase its speed as we move to winter in the northern hemisphere and the south moves to their summer because the sun is closer to them. And this is evident based on how long daylight lasts as the sun is set. Now, like I said, there is evidence that the sun picks up its speed, which it would have to do to make larger loops. And this isn't just a theory. Like I said, there's evidence I'm going to show you. And not only that, but I'm going to show you evidence of the sun rising in a different location from month to month to month based on exactly what I'm saying here. What I quickly want to show you is that a general time-lapse photography video is about 30 frames per second. That's the standard. Now keep that in mind as I show you these next two quick videos. So this is the Mackinac Bridge in Michigan in the winter, clearly with the ice. And I just want you to watch how fast the sun sets because it's moving faster in the winter months and how fast the daylight goes away. Real fast. Now, same bridge, very similar location. The sun is starting in a very similar location. And this video takes about 3 minutes in the same time-lapse speed. And I'll wait here for a second and you will see the sun sets extremely slow in the summer compared to in the winter months when it has to be moving faster to make those larger loops around the flat realm you live in. I'm going to stop it here and skip ahead a little and you'll see the daylight slowly goes away instead of the winter when it's gone in an instant. Now again, I'm going to let this just play for a second, but I want you to think back to winter times. When the sun goes down, it gets dark real fast. And in the summer, when the sun goes beyond the horizon or to the vanishing point where you can no longer see its light, the light from the sun still lasts because it's moving much, much slower. And again, just to compare that to how quickly it sets here. Watch how fast this is moving in the wintertime. Same time-lapse speed. This video is 17 seconds. The other one's 5 minutes. Dark. Okay, so what I want to do now is show you the location of the sun and how it changes from month to month based on its rotation around the flat realm. Now, this is November. That direction is south towards Chicago, and it's right above the scoreboard. So remember, above the scoreboard, November. Now, it's not above, it's December. It's gone further south, like it does until the winter solstice, where it'll continue to go and then start coming back. Okay, so it's January now. It's hit the winter solstice. It's raised over there, and now it's starting to make its way back north. So February, it's now north of the scoreboard. March, it's further north of the scoreboard because now it's starting to head towards summer, where the sun is going to be circling the northern hemisphere at a much closer position. And now we're in April. You can't even see the scoreboard because it is raising so much further north, starting to warm up the northern hemisphere. And by northern hemisphere, I mean closer to the north. Not on a ball, but on the flat realm, north is in the center. So the sun is getting closer and making smaller circles around the North Pole. So like I said, I wanted to give you some observable, scientific proof that what's going on above us is different than what they say. And just because we've all been programmed to see things a specific way doesn't mean it's the right way. In fact, when you look at this model, it makes 1,000 times more sense. And you can make sense of it in your head based on what you observe every day. And if you're interested in this app, in this clock, go to flatearthdave.com and use my code. You can go to the App Store too and use my code. And of course, this is all for entertainment purposes only. I'm a satire account. I know the seasons are caused by the Earth's 67,000 mile per hour rotation around the 93 million miles away sun. And even though we're closer during the winter months, the tilt is what makes it colder. Of course, it all makes perfect sense. Entertainment purposes only.
Why is this demonic number everywhere in space? Like, you're telling me the Earth we live on is revolving around the sun at 66,600 miles an hour, while the ground is curving at 0.666 feet per square mile, and the Earth is tilted 23.4 degrees off center, which 90 minus 23.4 is a 66.6 degree angle. The Arctic and Antarctic circles are located 66.6 degrees north and south latitude. Or what about the meteor that hit Earth wiping out the dinosaurs? Because that happened 66 million years ago, and the asteroid itself was 6 miles wide? And then gravity, the very theory that binds all of the universe together, was founded in 1666. Here are a few more: Pluto's average orbital speed, and then Mars' furthest distance away from the sun, and then Saturn's orbital distance. Now, this last one doesn't have anything to do with space, but I just find it funny how Apple, whose logo is a fruit with a bite taken out of it, which of course symbolizes the Garden of Eden story, sold their first ever computer for $666.66. I'm not reaching, am I?
A lifetime of indoctrination has given us a knee-jerk reaction to certain terms. Because the heliocentric globe is all we have ever known, when someone suggests that our creation is flat, we imagine some disk floating in outer space, perhaps with water flowing off the edge. This is not biblical cosmology. Such a conception is circulated by misinformation agents as a way to ridicule and discourage investigation of the subject. When it comes to how vastly different biblical cosmology is to the spinning space ball, an absence of curvature is just the tip of the iceberg. Here are 5 key aspects of biblical cosmology. 1. The firmament and the waters. There is no outer space in the biblical model. The first chapter of Genesis and other scriptures describe our world as being encased within an immeasurable body of waters. These vast waters are referred to as the deep. On the second day of creation, God made the firmament to divide the waters which were below from the waters which were above, allowing for an inhabitable expanse in between. Even after the flood, these waters remain, for the psalmist David declared in his day, "Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens." Isaiah describes the firmament as being of a solid material that was stretched out as a curtain over the earth. The fact that the firmament is indeed a domed structure is confirmed by Isaiah's use of simile, comparing it to a tent to dwell in. Elihu described the sky as strong, likening it to a molten mirror. Such terminology proves that the Bible writers understood the firmament to be solid. 2. A circular face with ends. The Bible repeatedly mentions that the earth has ends, and further, that it has a face. A sphere does not have ends, and it is the only shape without a face. The face of the earth is described as a circle when viewed from heaven above. The Hebrew word for circle, kug, does not indicate a sphere, as many would argue, for Isaiah used another Hebrew word, dur, when referring to a ball. The Hebrew word kug is elsewhere translated compass. During our world's creation, God set a compass, or engraved a circle, upon the face of the depth. 3. Fixed upon foundations and pillars. While modern science claims that the Earth is moving through space at unbelievable speeds, The Bible declares that the earth is presently established or fixed, and that it shall not be moved. God himself said to Job that he laid the foundations of the earth. It is also written that the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. Pillars and foundations are structural components that must be firmly set in order to serve their purpose. This raises the question, whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? The Bible answers, He hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods. This seemingly impossible feat of engineering, the earth being founded upon waters, was marveled at by Job, who declared, He hangeth the earth upon nothing. That is, nothing which affords stability as far as man is concerned. The structure of the heavens, the firmament, is also set on pillars, which are said to tremble at God's reproof. 4. The divine dwelling. God's throne sits directly above the firmament. Just as the pillars of the earth are struck in the waters below, God likewise layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters which are above the earth. It is written, The Lord sitteth upon the flood. Being literally enthroned above our world, the Heavenly Father looks down from the height of his sanctuary. To illustrate the vertical vantage point God occupies, Isaiah states that men are as grasshoppers from God's view. 5. Geocentric, not heliocentric. According to Scripture, the sun, moon, and stars are not millions of miles away, but are simply lights in the firmament of the heaven. Far from being a cluster of space rocks and burning gases roving in their own courses, the Bible teaches that these mysterious luminaries were made for the sole service of the earth, to give light upon the earth. Besides dividing day from night, the clockwork procession of these celestial wonders was to allow man to reckon seasonal changes and to mark the ages as they passed. During his battle with the Amorites, Joshua did not bid the earth, but the sun to stand still. David likewise understood that it is the sun which moves. He likened the sun to a strong man running a race, who untiringly circuits the heavenly track above. This fact is also supported by Solomon, who stated that after the sun goes down, it hasteth to the place where he arose. What are called planets are simply wandering stars. These luminaries traverse the heavens irregularly, wandering in retrograde motions above the earth. Not being mentioned specifically during Creation Week, the wandering stars fall under the general category of stars which God made on the fourth day. Unlike the cosmology of science falsely so called, the creation model that the Bible describes needs no theoretical physics to support itself. It is so simple that a child can understand it. Yet Bible truth requires the faith of a child to be received. While the simple biblical model is in complete harmony with our own personal experience, its wonderful simplicity, in most cases, does not appeal to the pride of a grown man, and he passes it by, seeking some great thing in its place.